I'm making this video today to tell you guys the truth about what I've been going through for the last 7 months as Miss Grand International. I know this is gonna come as a shock to a lot of you, my decision to step down and return my crown and give up my title. But I also know at the same time that a lot of you knew something wasn't right. You could sense, I read all the comments, so I know a lot of you could tell that my reign wasn't going very, very well, and there were issues with the organization on their end, and I just want to be completely transparent for all of you. I want you to know the reasoning behind this. You've supported me so much, even now, and you deserve to know the truth. And more than that, I'm doing this because there are so many girls all over the world who have the same dream that I did when I entered this competition, and I wanted to win the first crown for India, and I did win the first crown for India. And I want those girls to know the truth about this organization, about the people who have created this system, and I want them to understand what they're signing up for. Because when I started and when I joined and when I won, nobody told me, nobody warned me, and I had to figure it out on my own. And I don't want any other girl to find herself in the same position that I've been in, because these have been the worst few months of my life. I have been at rock bottom. The last time I was truly happy was the night I won. And since then, it's just been going downhill. It's been getting worse and worse. And I've spent the last few months just completely depressed and alone, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So I want you to know the truth, and it's taking a lot of courage to, first of all, give up the crown that I worked so hard for, and then also to talk about it so openly. But I don't want anyone else to be in the same position as me. So that's why I'm doing this. You all know how much effort I put into this dream of winning, how hard I worked from the beginning. And that's true for so many girls who join. And all I've gotten in return is just constant harassment, mental torture, mistreatment, and it's on a systemic level. Like, I don't think they can ever change this. So I want you to know what I've gone through, and I want you to know how much I've been silently struggling behind my smile. And I know it's seemed like everything is okay, but like, you have to make it look that way when the whole world is watching you and there's always just cameras on you. It's like, you have to seem like everything is okay, but I want you to know the truth now. And I'm gonna tell you everything in this video. First of all, when I joined the competition, I had absolutely no idea that countries were paying for votes, okay? And then the Miss Grand International organization happily accepts them in the form of votes or in the form of, donations. And you guys don't know that. And of course, like, when I found out, like, we couldn't afford to pay for the votes, we didn't have that knowledge, and that's why it was so difficult to compete in terms of votes. You guys know, when I was in the personal interview, Nawat asked me, why do you not have votes? And it's because I wasn't paying to buy votes like every other person was. And honestly, like, it's not even their fault. Like, of course, if they have the option, why wouldn't they do it? Like, everybody wants to win. And the countries who've paid huge amounts of money for votes or for donations, like, of course, if their girl doesn't win, they would be upset because they've basically paid for it and they expect something in return. Nothing is promised, but they expect that, yeah, we've paid, we'll get some return on it. And I don't blame the countries at all. Like, everybody's doing what they can to win, but it is the organization's fault for accepting this and for setting this standard. Because what about the girls who can't afford it? What about the countries who can't afford it, or the national directors who don't know about it, or who don't have access to those kinds of funds, like me? Truly, the only reason I won, despite all of this voting and all of this that was happening, the only reason I won is because of the amount of public support I had. I mean, I think about it now and it still gives me goosebumps, the way people cheered for India, and the way, like, if you asked anybody, they would say they were rooting for India. And on social media and in Thailand, in real life, there was just so much support for me, and I'm so grateful for that, because that is truly the only reason that I won. Honestly, I want you to think about all the franchises and the national directors who lost their licenses this year, or who gave it up or whatever. Like, it's actually insane, the number of directors who've been in the business for years and they chose to give up their license. Why do you think that is? Who do you think the problem here is, the common problem? I mean, truly, it is impossible to work with the Miss Grand International organization. The way they are, the way they treat people, they only care about money. Like, that is their only thing. And I'm gonna get into that a little bit more. But it made so much sense to me later on when I saw that so many people were dropping their licenses, because nobody wants, even after winning, nobody wants their girls to be in this kind of position, you know? And I had no one to tell me, you know, but I need to be the person who speaks up for what the truth is, and who puts honesty and integrity above my own image. And that's what I'm trying to do today. I've been in Thailand for many months. As you know, I won in October, and then I stayed the whole month of November and 2 weeks of December. And then I was also there for more than a month, all throughout March. So I've spent my fair share of time over there. And during that time, it's unbelievable how they treated me. They couldn't even provide me basic amenities. You know, you think after winning that, oh my God, like, it's a dream come true. The organization is going to take care of everything for me. But that's not true. Immediately after winning, they moved me into a cramped hotel room, a small little hotel room where even all my suitcases, they couldn't open properly. Like, there wasn't enough space for that. And I lived in that hotel room for more than a month. More than 1 month. And from there, they shifted me to a dilapidated house, okay, which was way on the outside of the city, like an hour or an hour and a half away from the city center, from MGI Hall, the office, everything. And over there in the house, I had no car. They didn't give me any way of getting around. So I was basically stuck in the house until they decided that they need me for something, even in the month of March. I had no car. They did not give me access to, like, a Thai phone number or anything. So I had to buy a phone over there. I had to buy a Thai phone number so that I could stay in touch with my friends and family, because I was staying there for so much time, you know. They did not provide me any food at all. You know, I requested them multiple times that, you know, like, there's no pots and pans in the house. I can't cook. Like, I could maybe go and grocery shop and then cook for myself, but there were no pots and pans. There was nothing. So I said that, you know, could we at least please, like, like I'm vegetarian, so it's very simple. Like we could just make sure that the fridge is stocked with, you know, fruits, and just fruits, so I can like cut it and eat it, you know. And my mom messaged them also that, you know, she's all alone, and can we just make sure there's some fruit in the fridge for her. They couldn't even do that. I had to order food on Grab, which is like their Uber Eats. I had to order food every single day, okay? It would take 2 hours to come because it's so far away, all right? And how am I supposed to stay healthy or take care of myself when I can like eat home cooked food or anything? And it was just so bad. Like most days I would either end up eating whatever junk I had, or I wouldn't order food because it's so far away that the drivers would end up canceling, you know. And I requested multiple times, you know, I have the messages like, please can we make sure there's food? Like it's their responsibility, you know. I'm there with them, with that organization. They should at least make sure that they're giving their queen food to eat, you know, if not meals or something. And I didn't, like, I couldn't keep pushing, so I dropped it, and that's how I spent my weeks over there, you know. It was so difficult. And then of course, like, they have a problem. Like I asked them, you know, I'm living here for a long time, like I need access to a gym maybe or something, you know, because obviously you have to keep taking care of yourself, like that's the job, you know. But they didn't arrange that for me. They couldn't. I had to beg and beg and beg for them to give me a yoga mat, until one of the people working for them gave me his like personal yoga mat from his house, you know, so I could do some like workouts over there. And then at the same time they were hounding me and like constantly just talking about my weight and my body all the time. I remember one time, like, they sent their representative to me, and he just comes up to me and he starts pinching me in different places, and he's like, oh, you need to lose weight here, you need to lose weight here. And like that, what am I supposed to say to that, you know, like that? It's so embarrassing, and it makes you feel so small and so bad. And I understand, like, obviously I have to stay fit for the job, I have to stay in shape, but it's so difficult, like, when you don't have access to anything and you're just locked in a house basically all day long, you know. Like, what are you supposed to do? There were days at a time when nobody would message me from their team. They just kind of left me in that house. They just left me there. There were no events. They called me to Thailand. There were maybe 3 or 4 events. And I was there for a month. So what do you think I did? And like, everybody's asking me, why aren't you posting anything, Rachel? Why are there no updates from you? And I would just say, oh, I'm really bad at it, or I'm sorry, you know. But the truth is, what should I post? What should I post? That I'm sitting here in the house, like, there's nobody to take pictures of me, there's nothing to do, I'm just sitting here, I'm depressed, there's like nothing to do, like, you know, I mean, and nobody knew. And it was just a really, really, really difficult situation. I love Thailand, I love my Thai fans, but being there was so difficult for me. Just going from that environment to, one day they'd say, okay, we're sending the car to pick you up for an event, and then you have to be ready, like, get ready, go on the red carpet, smile, and pretend everything is okay. And I never spoke with the team. I never spoke with Nawat or Teresa. We literally would meet on the red carpet and just smile and pretend like everything is okay, and like we're best friends, and they're Papa Nawat and Mommy Teresa and me, and we're just one happy family, you know. But the truth is, they don't know if I'm frankly alive or dead until we meet on the red carpet and smile for the cameras together. That's all they care about, is getting that picture. And it's just such a false narrative, because you guys are so sweet and you keep saying, oh, you look so happy together, you look so like they're really taking care of you, and like it's just not the truth. And I I I kept pretending like everything is okay, but there's only a certain point I can do that until, I told them that, what, I'm here. There's just a few events, like maybe I could go home in the middle or something so that I can, keep taking care of myself and I can come back. But they didn't let me go home. They didn't give me anything to do while I was there. I basically was just like stuck there alone, and I had to take care of myself. And my mom was so worried about me. After I won, those weeks were some of the most depressing and the hardest weeks of my life, because I was working so much and there was just so much toxicity and negativity in that organization. And every day I would just I would get more disillusioned, and it would get harder and harder and harder for me. And my mom, we would speak to each other, and she saw and she noticed that something is not okay with me, just she knows me really well, so she knew something wasn't okay. And she came there and she stayed with me for a few weeks in November. And I think that really that really saved my life, because it would have been really horrible otherwise. There's also no safety whatsoever. And I'll explain what I mean by this. Is number one, in the house is really far away. Like I said, it's in a quiet little neighborhood on the outside of the city, far away from everything. Nobody would check on me for days. Sometimes I would get a message, hey, are you okay? And when I was there, obviously, I'm paying for my own food. I'm, paying for a lot of things by myself, paying for my own outfits and everything, And I had to bring cash with me, in dollars or in Thai baht. And my parents, this is so embarrassing, but I expected after I won that I'd be able to support myself financially, with the prize money and everything. It's like a dream come true. And obviously you don't try and win for the prize money, but it adds to it that, yeah, you've won something really big. And it's only after I won that I realized, their contract says that the prize money will be paid in its entirety at the end of your reign. And before that, there's only a monthly stipend of a small amount, And I was paid my monthly stipend for just the first month, okay? Just for the month of November. And they didn't pay me at all after that. And it's so embarrassing. Every time I had to go there, I would ask, my parents, I would ask them to, I would ask them to, I would ask them to give me money for food, and because I had to take care of that myself. And so they gave me, cash in dollars. And when I was there at the house, obviously if I leave for an event or I spent a week in another province, I had to leave most of my stuff in the house, in my room. And by the way, when I won, a penthouse was promised to me. They showed me a penthouse and they're like, this is gonna be yours, you're gonna live here. But that wasn't the case. It was either the house or they offered to keep me in the same hotel, but I literally could not live in that small room anymore. It was like too much for me. There wasn't enough space, and it was too much. So I said I would rather like live in the house. And so I used to keep my cash there, like in my suitcase, hidden inside. And literally nobody came to the house. Only a cleaner would come one time in a week, maybe. And I had gone to some other province in Thailand for work. And when I came back, my money, I had around $1,700 with me, you know, and there was $1,000 missing. And it was just like, I opened my pouch and my rupees were in there and my dollars, and like I know how I left it, but when I opened it, it was all messy. It was in a different place, and I counted, and instead of 1,700, it was only $700, and so there was 1,000 missing. And I thought like maybe I moved it or something. I checked all my suitcases, I checked everything, and I realized like this wasn't an accident, you know, like somebody took the money. Somebody came in the house while I was gone. Maybe it wasn't locked. I don't know. And I messaged a representative and I said that, you know, this has happened, and like it's okay, it's not a big deal, but just please look into it if you can. Like please let me know if there's a solution. I didn't hear anything about it. A month later, I messaged again, and I'm like, hi, is there any update? I was back in India by this time. And he's like, no, we're still investigating. I was like, okay. Another couple days or weeks, and I asked again. I'm like, what's the update, you know? No update on the money. And then eventually he sends me a message which is like, you know, we can't prove that you had the money, so, you know, there's nothing that we can do. And I spoke to Teresa about it, and I brought up this issue with her. And it's the moment I bring it up with her, like she starts attacking me and blaming me for it. And I understand, okay, it's my fault. Like I didn't lock my suitcase, okay, that's my fault. But I never imagined that something like this could happen on company property when I'm there and I'm their responsibility, you know? Like I'm not a contestant anymore, I'm their queen, and it's their job to take care of me and make sure I'm safe and my things are safe, you know? They can't just say, okay, like go live by yourself and take care of everything, you know? But she fully blamed me, and she said, she's like, if you go to the police, there's no way you could prove it anyways, you know? And I was like, I'm not thinking of going to the police, you know? I just want you to just try and find out, like, if anything can be done, you know? But she just wanted to blame me, and I realized in that moment that these people will never support me, you know? Like, okay, this was just money, and it was just $1,000, which is still a lot, but if it were anything else, they won't support me, you know? And this reminds me also, we were having dinner, Teresa, me, and some other people, okay? And Teresa starts talking about this one queen she had in the past. And this dinner, there's like 3 or 4 other people there. And she starts talking about the queen's personal life. And she's like, yeah, she lied about being sexually harassed. I don't trust her. She's a liar. And I was like, excuse me, but like, how do you know that she lied, you know? And she's like, I know it. She's a liar. She lied. Nothing happened. And I was like, don't you think you should believe your queen? Like, if she told you that she was on a work trip with MGI, I don't know the whole story or who the queen was, but apparently she was on a trip to South Sudan with MGI, and she got sexually harassed by the general manager of the hotel. And she told Teresa, and Teresa says, I asked the general manager, he said nothing happened, I just dropped her in her room. And I realized in that moment that poor girl was probably sexually harassed, and she told the only people who she had at that time with her, who was Teresa. And they didn't believe her. Like, okay, first of all, how do you prove that something like that happened? It's very difficult, that's very complicated. But if you tell your organization, like, they need to believe you, you know? Like, you call yourself mommy for a reason. You need to at least believe your queen and not shit talk her years later at a table with random people, you know? And I realized I would be the next girl. Like, if anything ever happens to me on one of these trips, God forbid, anything, this money is one example, but anything worse, you know, I cannot rely on them for anything, because frankly, they don't care if I live or die. As long as I'm there to smile at their events, as long as I like keep my body like super skinny the way they like, they don't care if I live or die. They just want me to be there to go on TikTok live and make money for them and show up at their events. That's it. That's all they want from me. And I realized they would never support me, and I was completely on my own. I mean, genuinely, when I say that they only care about money, I mean it. They made us sell, you guys know, they made us sell these cheap, tacky products on TikTok, all right? Like we were sales girls. I mean, you've crowned queens, girls who, like, we have careers in our country, we do things, we're well respected, you know, and they're making us sell cheap products on TikTok because it makes them money. And you can't say no because the boss has asked you to do it. But I used to feel so guilty, you know, like people are spending their hard-earned money to buy these like disgusting cheap products, and like nobody has the power to say no. Like if they say, hey, we need you here for TikTok live, you just show up and you do the TikTok live. That's it, you know? And I felt really, really guilty for misleading the fans, because they'll, like, the fans will buy just to support the queen who says buy it, you know? That's what's so special and amazing. But like it baffles me. Like, you have women, you know, like me, for example, a person who's a speaker, who wants to like talk about issues, who wants to create change in the world, who has so many ideas, not just for business but for philanthropic work, and you want her to sell like chili paste and chili sauce and like random things on TikTok? Seriously? I had so many ideas to work with underprivileged children, which I was already doing in my country, and also in Thailand I'd worked with an NGO which I really love, and I wanted to raise awareness because now I have the followers, and that's what I always wanted. You guys know, in my interviews I said the reason I want to win is to bring attention to these matters, is to use my advocacy, you know? Otherwise, what's the point? Like, I'm not doing this for the money because I never got the money. I'm not doing this for the fame, all right, because you have to be popular before you win MGI in order to win. Like, the only reason I'm doing this is so that I can use my voice in a way that matters, you know? Not selling on TikTok, but actually working with charities. Like, they use this whole stop the war and violence thing, but it's all fake. It's a facade. Where is the stop the war and violence? Like where is the work? Where's the advocacy work for that? Like, I'm here, I'm ready to use my voice, I'm ready to work with an NGO, but they don't want to do that because it doesn't make money for them. And I've heard them say, like, Nawat literally says that this is useless, people don't care about it, it's not entertaining, and it doesn't make money, so we're not going to do it. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not all about entertainment. Being a queen, that's not what pageantry is about, you know? It's about being a global public figure who uses her voice for good, you know? Not these cheap entertainment tactics. I had plans when I was there. I wanted to go to charities. I wanted to visit a blind orphanage, and also, you know, other like slum areas that I had worked in before, and they didn't let me. And they said that it's because like we don't have production team, you know, blah blah blah. They made up reasons. Obviously they didn't want to because it's not paid. And I said, I don't need production team, like my day is free, I'll just go there and, you know, I'll be able to like bring some attention to the cause. And they said no. Like, you can't. And so I feel really bad when people ask me that, like, why did you stop your advocacy? Because, like, I wasn't allowed to. And what is the point of winning, of having followers, of people listening to you? What's the point of wearing India over here, and if you can't actually help in any way, you know? It's completely useless. And I remember after winning, they called us down to the MGI headquarters, okay? And they gave us all our contracts 1 or 2 days after winning, I'm not sure when. And I don't know if I can explain that situation properly, but when they gave the contract, it was like a gun to the head. Okay, it was their pen, their paper, their office, their contract, their rules. And we were expected to just sit down, shut up, and sign it. That's it. I remember I personally stepped aside out of the meeting with all the girls to have a conversation about the contract, because mine was different and I had a couple questions. I wanted to see if there's, you know, anything I can like negotiate, because the contract is obviously very one-sided. Like, it's only there to protect them or benefit them. It doesn't guarantee me or promise me anything. It doesn't protect me or protect my rights in any way. But it's like the whole world is like, India had just won for the first time, and I was seeing people's reactions, and everybody was so proud, and there was so much support, and everybody was so excited. There's no question of, hey, I can't sign the contract. You know, you have to. The whole world is watching you. You just won. You have to sign it. There's that pressure. And the way they approach the situation is like, you sign it. If you don't want to sign it, no problem. You can leave. That's the attitude going into it. I asked, I'm like, you know, can we negotiate this at all? Can I request that we discuss this? You know, my lawyer would want to maybe read it and negotiate. And Teresa was like, no. She's like, if you have a problem, if you don't want to sign it, don't sign it. Tell me right now. You can leave. And so I realized, like, there's no negotiating this. You just sign it. That's it. They just want girls to feel lucky that, you know, you've been chosen by us, and you just sign it. That's it. And of course, the prize money was promised to me to be paid, like the monthly stipend, and then the total amount at the end of my reign. But I just received the first stipend for the first month, and that's it. Like, I never saw another penny after that. And so I had to handle, or my parents had to handle, all the expenses that came with it. And so every time I travel, like, I have to take care of my own food. Of course, they do the flights and hotel, but if something is not done, like, it's your responsibility to take care of it 100%. You know, and they don't provide you with outfits or anything. Like, some of the if you get invited to a country, I've only been to one, by the way, so I don't know how this works exactly, but the country that calls you, the ND, will provide you dresses for events while you're there, but everything else is your own responsibility. And it's so difficult, because when you go into it, you think, hey, like, I've just become Miss Grand International. They're gonna take care of my wardrobe. They're gonna take care of hair and makeup. They're gonna take care of everything for me. But that's not true. You're still completely on your own for everything. And of course, my reign was particularly difficult for me, because of the issues with my national director and the international organization. So when I competed at Miss Grand India, I competed under Glamanand, who was the Indian National Director organization. And I signed a contract with them, as every girl does in every country. And I would be represented by them in India. And then after I won, they had a personal issue with Miss Grand International. They had a falling out, like so many national directors did. And they lost their license for India. So although I was signed to them in India, Miss Grand would not allow me to work with them at all. So I couldn't work at all, basically. And I remember I had been queen for less than 2 months the first time they threatened to dethrone me. And they just use this thing of dethronement, of taking the crown away, as blackmail. And they use it to manipulate me for everything. So like, you can't bring up a single issue with them because they will just like say that we'll take your crown away. And it was so impossibly difficult for me. Like, after Glamanan lost their license, there was a new license holder in India, all right, some star or something. And they were supposed to do my whole homecoming. You know, we had multiple conversations in December leading up to my homecoming where I was planning it with them. I had big plans. They had big plans. They promised so many things. We were all so excited, you know. But the date of my homecoming kept coming closer and closer. And there was nothing was materializing, you know. And up until the moment I landed in the airport in Delhi for the homecoming, these people, the new organization, hadn't even taken permission from the airport authorities to host my homecoming there. Like, can you imagine? My plane has landed, I'm coming out, there's no permission. I'm blessed that my dad, he was there, he handled everything. He called his own contacts, you know, the marshals in the airport, or I don't know what, but he got at the last minute the permission for us to have the homecoming there. Otherwise they wouldn't have let anybody stop in the airport. They wouldn't have let the crowds in. They wouldn't have let the band or the, you know, the pundits who were doing the prayer, the roses, the flowers, everything, the red carpet. None of that would have been allowed. And he did it last minute, all on his own, with no support. Same for my Jalandhar homecoming. My dad had planned this amazing, like, a parade with like circus performances and like media, news, everything. Like, he arranged it himself. Neither did Miss Grand International do it, nor did the new national organization do it, you know. They just came, they took their photographs, they posted everything first with their watermark on it of my event, my homecoming. They took credit for everything, and then they left. In fact, they left in the middle of my press conference here because they had their content. They didn't need anything. They literally left in the middle. So, and now they're using my photograph everywhere to promote their event, and they didn't do anything for me, you know? Like, I was left completely alone. I couldn't work with the people I had a legal contract with Glamanand. And because MGI and the new people wouldn't allow it, and I couldn't work without Glamanand either because that's who I have a contract with. So I'm literally stuck over here. And when I'm in India, like, there's nothing I can do because of these issues and just constant threatening messages from MGI saying we'll take your crown away. I had to let go of so many opportunities, big interviews by like I don't even know if I can say. I had to let go of a lot of really, really big opportunities simply because I wasn't allowed to take them. I couldn't because I was stuck. And so all the comments that are like calling me jobless and like saying, you know, why is she not doing anything? Why is she not posting? Why is she not updating? Why are there no appearances? Literally because I wasn't allowed to. And can you imagine how difficult and stressful it was for me? Because when you win, you expect your life to change overnight. That's what I expected. You expect that everything is going to be perfect and you're going to get all these opportunities and offers and it's all going to work out. But that's not the case. That is not the case at all. And I had to struggle and fight, and I had to sit home and do nothing because I had to say no to everything that was offered to me in India. So whatever duties were given to me by MGI, I did all of them. I was at every event. I did everything. I did not work outside of them at all. All right. At most, I would do 1 or 2 unpaid things because, like, I'm not getting paid, so I'm allowed to do it, you know. But other than that, I would just do nothing. And this was like the hardest thing of all, hard to explain to all of you. Like it feels like such a weight off my shoulders now to be able to tell you this. Honestly, I was so excited to travel. Also, their favorite sentence to use is more than 20 countries. You're going to travel to more than 20 countries. What traveling? Like, I'm sorry, but it's May. It's May. I've been queen for 7 months, all right, and I have traveled to one country with MGI, just one. That's the Czech Republic. That's it. I mean, these like girls go into this. I went into this thinking, hey, I'm gonna get the opportunity to travel around the world, to be an ambassador, to do this, that. That's what they used to advertise themselves, right? But look at it. It's May. It's been 7 months. I have a few months left of my reign, and there's no traveling. And yeah, they've said that there's maybe some countries coming up, but how am I supposed to do it when I know that A, I'm not protected, and B, like, I don't know that anything is final, and C, I have to pay so much like on my own when I'm there, and it's such an unsupportive environment. And I feel really bad because I was supposed to be in Guatemala right now. The national directors of Guatemala had invited me there, and I feel bad that I wasn't able to go. But I had been talking to Miss Grand International. I had been talking to them before, and I told them that, I'm facing all these issues, and please resolve these issues for me. Otherwise, I won't be able to go to Guatemala. Like I said that, I was very clear on that, And all I got in response was aggressive threats. That's it. They said, we're going to go to the police. We're going to do this, that. We're filing a case against you. And all I wanted was for them to say, you know what, Rachel, I'm sorry you're having a difficult time. We're going to look into it and we're going to make sure you don't have any problems. That's it. Like, I've done everything that was asked of me. All I needed is a little bit of support, a little bit of knowing that I'm not in this alone and that the organization is with me. But they're not. They only care about making their money. I know that Nawat publicly blamed my passport, for me not traveling a couple months ago. He said that Rachel's not traveling because she has issues with her passport and she's applying for lots of visas, Like, that's not true. Okay, I understand an Indian passport might not be the strongest in the world, so it's easy to blame, but me personally, I have 10-year visas for the US, UK, Canada, all right, which basically grants me access almost everywhere in the world. And I applied for my Schengen visa the day they told me to. I applied and I got my Schengen visa for 3 months within like 6 days. So that's not the reason I wasn't traveling for so many months, is because I'm struggling with my passport. It's because there were no travel opportunities for me. And another reason I hear a lot is people think that Rachel can't travel on her own. I would be more than happy to travel on my own if they present the opportunity to me, but they didn't. And I've been here, I've been ready to work, ready to be queen, ready to actually have the reign that was promised to me. But like, I'm not being offered those opportunities. Like, I've only been to one country. That is so shameful and embarrassing. And even that trip, like, I will never forget my trip to the Czech Republic, because the Czech team is so nice and sweet and amazing, and they put on an incredible event over there. And I remember the day after the event, Teresa, me and the national director, we were together, and she starts yelling at the national director, telling her that she had a bad show and that she picked the wrong winner and just XYZ, like lots of issues. She went on for an hour yelling at this woman who is a grown woman running her company, living her life, doing her best, who got so many sponsors, who did such an amazing job. And she yelled at her until she cried. And I realized in that moment, like, if Teresa can yell at this woman like this, like, what am I for her? I'm nothing. What are any of her queens to her? They're nothing. They call themselves Mommy Teresa and Papa Nawat, but you can't just call yourself mom and dad. Like, you have to act like it. You have to protect your daughters. You have to be there for them. I'm sorry, but they couldn't be the furthest thing from parents. They are cold-hearted business people. They just want to extract your use, make money off of you, and that is it. That's all they care about. And the other thing they care about is how you look. That's it. I remember after winning, the first time I sat at an event with them for Miss Grand something, whatever, I don't remember which one it was. But the girls were performing on stage, and I was so excited that I'm finally sitting on the other side of the stage, you know? I'm not on the stage, I'm on the other side, and it's such a proud moment for me. And I was sitting with them, and I heard the way they speak about these girls. Girls who they're giving their heart and their soul performing on stage the way all of us do. And I was there to hear the conversations about how they judge them and how they speak about them. The kind of derogatory, body-shaming, disgusting, deplorable comments they make. Like, I can't even say that on camera. I would never speak about another person that way. Saying like, oh, she's all right, but her knees are too fat, you know? She'll never win because of her knees. Every aspect of the body is pointed out for every girl, all right? Like, she's to this, she's to that, this is to this to that. And I don't know about you, but like, I can't sit through that. I was so excited to be there and be on that side of the table, but just to hear these conversations, it really disturbed me mentally. It made me feel sick. Like 15 minutes into the event, I was sick. I was ready to throw up. I just wanted to leave. I wanted to like cover my ears or something, because I could imagine that that's how they spoke about me and the girls I competed with as well, you know? And I don't even want to imagine what kind of comments they were, you know? This claims to be an organization to support women, to champion women. It should be more than that. No, it should be more than what a girl's knees or nose or like, I can't. Like, they pretend to be so body positive and forward thinking, and yeah, sure, they admit that you need a good body to win, but there's all kinds of bodies competing, right? And they say that that's not like, that shouldn't be a factor, but the truth is, like, you are letting yourself, if you're competing there, you're letting yourself be judged top to bottom in the most disgusting way possible by these people. And I, frankly, cannot be a part of that. I am not a woman who will tear down another woman because one part of her body is not completely perfect. They don't care about how you speak. They don't care about what you think. The only thing they care about is what you look like. That's why they used to send people to pinch different parts of me and tell me to lose weight here. And I had so many ideas for them. You know, I wanted to work. I had the arm popper idea. You guys know I made an ad. I made a product. I did the packaging. In fact, now it's requested me to create samples of it. My parents had the samples made in India. We were working with local creators and cottage industries here, because it's made by, the snack is made by, like, you know, by people who support themselves off of this. It's a very small industry, and I wanted to help them grow their business and take it worldwide. You know, it would have been such a support to the economy. But they weren't interested in that, you know. And people ask me, where's your arm popper? I don't know. Like, I wanted to do it. I was fully ready to do it, but they just don't take these things everywhere. It's easier for them to keep selling the products they already have, you know, on TikTok. That makes money. Why they don't want to invest in something else? The whole time that I was working with Miss Grand International, the last 7 months, I was constantly harassed, manipulated, ignored, and left to fend for myself, all while dealing with the intense and immense scrutiny of the public eye and all the attention that it brings. These have been the hardest few months of my life. And I know that MGI right now, they will go to any lengths to defame me, to malign my name and my image, and to like destroy my credibility. They will say anything, frankly, anything. A lot of people will choose to believe them. A lot of people won't. I hope you see for yourself and you recognize the pattern of disrespect and the systemic failures in their system. I, of course, don't have the same resources as this huge public limited company that's been operating for like so many years. But what I do have is the truth. I have integrity, and I will stand by that, and I will stand by myself. I have the strength and support and love of the fans, and that's what matters more than anything. Don't forget, alright, if you're a person, a fan who supports this pageant or supports any pageant, you have the power to decide where people's attention goes. With every post you make or every view you give, you decide what makes a bigger impact in the world and what doesn't. And if you're thinking of supporting this pageant, or if you're a girl who's thinking of, God forbid, thinking of competing in this pageant, please go into it completely aware of all of these things. That even if you win, you'll be completely on your own, and you're not gonna get any love or special treatment or safety or support from this organization. The organization, the Miss Grand International organization, does not care about you. It does not care about its queens. All it wants is to use its queens until the queens are not useful. And I could not be a part of this anymore, which is why I chose to give up my title and to resign. I know there will be a lot of queens after me. There were a lot of queens before me. Queens are gonna come and go. It's not gonna end everything, this video right here. But I hope it at least sheds the light on the truth for some girls and some fans and some people who will think twice before supporting this organization. Every girl I know who I've spoken with who's in contract with MGI wants out of her contract. Every single one. And I'm not going to take names, but that means something when nobody wants to be stuck in their contract with them because they're being used like this. It is completely one-sided, and I know so many girls feel pressure to sign it just the same way I did, okay, because they're there. But I want you to know before going into it that there is another way, there are other options for you, and that you don't need to put yourself through this at all, because it's not going to benefit you. I think the mistake that MGI made is that they didn't realize when they crowned me that they're not just crowning Rachel, they're crowning a daughter of India. They're crowning somebody who will speak for her country and her people fiercely. They're crowning somebody who will be supported and loved by so many people who care about integrity and honesty and who care about humanity. That's what this is about at the end of the day. As for my future, I will continue to believe in myself as I've always done. I have the support of my family. I have the support of these amazing fans, and I'm so, I didn't think about the support when I posted this and resigned and gave up my crown. And I knew a lot of people would speak negatively about me, but I never expected that so many people would support me. And I'm so, so grateful. I can't say thank you enough, because if the response had been different, I don't know how I would handle it right now. But I'm so grateful for your support, your love, your trust in me. And I want you to know that you matter. Your attention matters. So please don't give your attention to this horrible organization, because they're going to do the same thing to queens years on years. And if you stop giving your attention here, maybe girls will stop applying, and maybe one day they won't have the power to treat women like this anymore. The relationships I've made during these months with people all over the world, in Thailand, with fans, they mean everything to me. And I've never been fake in my interactions with them ever. I've always tried to protect the girls. I've always told the girls who won to protect themselves. And those relationships, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so grateful that I got to meet all of you and be in this position to turn this down today because of you. I truly believe that a pure heart and honest intentions will always be rewarded. I believe that good things happen to good people, and I want you to know that this decision I made to give the crown back did not come from a place of pain, but it came from a place of strength. I don't feel like I've lost anything. I feel like I've gained everything. I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, I feel free. For the first time in months, I feel free, and I feel like I can breathe. And I've just been drowning for so long, and now I feel like I've come up for air. And I have my life back, and I'm so grateful for that. And no matter what happens, I hope that I've at least